Hello everybody, I thought I would come on and do an update. Forgive this appearance. So I had my third Avastin injection earlier. My eye's a bit sore as you would expect, so I just put a patch on. So these are the all singing, all dancing glasses that I got from the opticians. They have got a blue light filter on them. They are also transition lenses so that when I go outside they darken. They have made a lot of difference, especially being in work under the lights. Not so much with the brightness, I have to say, but in terms of reducing the eye strain from the artificial lights, I do think they've helped. I still have to wear my sunglasses when I'm driving because I didn't realise transition lenses don't work in cars. There's a UV protection on the windscreen and therefore it doesn't hit the lenses, but I have to wear sunglasses for driving, which is fine because my distance vision is fine. These are very focals though, because even though my distance isn't bad enough to warrant glasses, I wanted very focal, so I would have to wear them all the time in work. It was just annoying having to put them on when I used the computer, take them off when I'm walking around, put glasses on again when I'm writing and making notes. So I just thought, let's get very focals. So yeah, the Avastin injections still, this is my third one today, and it went okay. It didn't hurt at all. So the first time I had the Avastin injection, I felt it going in and it wasn't pleasant. But at that point, I was just 4 weeks, I think 3 or 4 weeks out of hospital from having radiotherapy. I was very stressed anyway. I found the eye injection stressful because I'd never had one. I think my body was still in fight or flight. So the first injection wasn't a great experience, but the last two have been good. I felt much calmer and it didn't hurt going in. It is sore afterwards, so I've had some paracetamol and I've got antibiotic eye drops to put in. In terms of work, so I've been back at work since April and my eye has been tolerating more in terms of being in front of screens and under the lights, but I do have to be careful of how much time I spend at my computer, and also because part of my job is talking to people, I noticed that if I'm sat talking to someone for a long time and I'm having to focus on them, I may not feel it so much at the time, but in the period afterwards, my eye will start to feel sore and I may even get a headache or a sore head. So I have to be careful at how long I can sit and speak to people, which has been frustrating, I must admit, because that's my job, is to talk to people. And so I feel like I'm having to compromise in part of what I do. And I realise that's just how it's got to be if I'm going to, reduce the eye strain. But it's been difficult to accept that. And it's been difficult generally to accept that things have to be different because of my eye. So for example, we went on holiday, on vacation to Cornwall a few weeks ago, which was lovely. From where we live, it's about 6.5 hours drive. And, obviously normally we would share the driving, no problem. But I didn't want my husband to drive all the way there, but I said, look, I'll do a bit of driving. So I ended up driving for a couple of hours straight and he drove the rest of the time, bless him. And at the time I was driving, again, I felt fine, but we got to Cornwall and in the evening that we got there, I gradually felt more and more fatigued. I could barely keep my eyes open. My eye was sore. And even the next day, I felt absolutely shattered. And it was the same on the way home. Again, I drove for a couple of hours, felt okay at the time, but when we got home, the fatigue set in. It took a day, I would say, for that to kind of subside. I feel bad because I enjoy driving and I like being able to share that with my husband, but now I'm having to be more mindful about how much I do. Luckily, where I work is only half an hour from where we live, and that is doable. That doesn't fatigue me at all. 45 minutes drive, I've noticed, is okay, but that is at the far end of what I can do, I think. Up to an hour is probably my limit. I don't know if that's going to get better. Although when I had my follow-up at Moorfields, they didn't see any signs of radiotherapy damage. My sight in this eye is not great because half of my vision, there is a shadow over my vision, and also I've got flickering and flashing, which isn't there all the time, but it does happen a lot. And also because of the subretinal fluid, things are squished, so text is squished, things that I'm looking at in front of me, they're all squished. It made me realise that this eye is probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting, because when I'm using both eyes, my vision seems okay, but this eye is probably working really hard. And also the psychologist that I worked with said that your brain is probably compensating and filling in the gaps that this eye is not managing to do. So that's all cognitive load, especially when you're driving. That's a lot of concentration. So that's been difficult to accept, I have to say, just this sense of needing to pace myself and not just running around doing things as I normally do, having to slow down, which feels really unfair when I'm still, apart from the eye, I'm fit and healthy. But that's how it is, isn't it? Again, with the driving, I recently went to see a friend where we used to live. It was a 3-hour drive. So bless him, my husband drove us up there, and he was quite happy because he got to go back to some of the places that he liked to go with his camera, because he's into photography. We all had lunch with me, my husband and my friend, and then he went off with his camera, and then me and my friend had a couple of hours to have a chat. And it was really helpful because we've kept in touch. Like, we've known each other 15, 16 years, and we've kept in touch, and throughout all of this, she's been amazing. She had her own cancer scare, if you like. Scare seems the wrong word, but she's got a very rare form of cancer, and it showed up as being on her skin, but I think there are other areas it can show up as well. But for her, it showed up in her skin. This was a couple of years ago. As much as I wouldn't wish that on her, it's been really helpful to talk to somebody else who has a rare form of cancer. And, you know, we moan about the fact that other people don't get it. We moan about the fact that it's unfair, but we don't get stuck in that. We also talk to each other about, okay, what can we do to help ourselves and, you know, keep going and living with the cancer rather than letting it take over our lives. So her friendship has been so important and invaluable, and it was lovely to see her. I felt really emotional when we met up because we hadn't seen each other since I moved here a couple of years ago, and hopefully I'm going to go and see her later in the year. One thing I said to my friend was that at the beginning of all this, I was so afraid of dying. Like, I thought, when I was diagnosed, I thought I'd like weeks to live. I was so frightened. And as time's gone on, I've become afraid of living. What I mean by that is I've become afraid of booking things in the calendar, like booking holidays and time away or just experiences, because what if I'm not here for them? But over time I've come to the realisation, and I'm not saying I feel entirely comfortable with it, but I've said to myself, but if you're not here for the things that you book in, then that's how it is. And that could be without cancer. You know, I could book even if I didn't have cancer, I could book things in and then something happens to me unexpectedly and I never get to do those things. If I live my life thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't book that because I might not be here for it, I won't live my life. I won't have a life. I will just be almost like living and waiting to die. I wouldn't want to live like that. So I've resolved to, even if it feels uncomfortable, to have those thoughts about, well, what if I'm not here? I'm still going to book those things in because I may very well be here. The thing that I dread so much may never happen. Although I know at some point I'm going to die, you know, but the thing that I dread may never happen, and I may miss out on things that I really want to do. So much so that my friend, this same friend, she's been sort of dropping hints that she'd like, you know, oh, we can go away together. And I've never ever gone away with a friend in my life because I've always feared it a bit, I guess. Like, oh, what if they want to do things that I'm not really keen to do? And what if I want to do something and they don't want to do it? How do I navigate that? And then one day on the phone, she said, oh, I've been thinking about going to an area in Italy. And I just sort of said, well, let's do it then. I said, oh, I'll need to get a passport, but why don't we have a look at it? Because I thought, you know what have I got to lose? The thing that I'm fearful of, the thing that I'm so worried about, just deal with it as it happens. I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. And I've just really started to take an attitude of whatever the fear is, it's not half as bad as the fear of cancer. So what I'm getting so worried about, what we may or may not do on holiday, just do it. I'm sure it'll be a really good experience. Another thing that I've noticed over time is that before my cancer diagnosis, I was struggling a bit with work in terms of, I kind of enjoyed it, but I was thinking, is this really for me anymore? Since my diagnosis, I've come to feel more grateful for work because I do enjoy what I do, but I think there was aspects of it that were getting me down. And over time, it feels as though I'm really letting go of the stuff that was bothering me. I'm not saying I don't get frustrated sometimes, but more often than not now, if there's a drama or if there's politics, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I think to myself, let me do good in the small space that I occupy, in the job that I do. Let me make the best of that and do what I can there. this other stuff over there is nothing to do with me. It may impact me, but it's stuff that I can't control. And I see other people around me getting really wound up to the point they make themselves ill or stressed. And I'm like, I'm not saying I didn't used to be like that, because I did with different things. I just find that sort of stuff is less important to me. And actually that's helping me to enjoy the job more, because I can look at the things that matter to me and focus on those and not get caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter, or it's just how it is. I think having a cancer diagnosis forces you to confront reality. You can't get away from it. And I think it's helping me to confront the reality of what goes on in work, that there are things that I can't control. And so what are the things I can do something about that are within my power to change or influence, and to let go of the stuff that I can't control? It's a bit like the fear of metastatic disease. And I can't remember if last time I'd been for my ultrasound. I did have a liver ultrasound. That was all clear. And I will be having yearly liver ultrasounds. I've managed to organise that. So that is good. But a bit like that, I don't know if there's much I can do to prevent metastatic disease. I eat relatively healthy anyway. I exercise a few times a week. And I'm going to continue with that. I think that that's important to me, to maintain a healthy lifestyle. But I don't know if that is actually going to influence whether or not I get metastatic disease. So what I need to do is focus on the things that I can control. And I think maintaining a healthy body, it can't do any harm for my chances. And a healthy mind. I've joined a meditation group that I go to now, and I've started going every week. Again, that's been really helpful, because I've meditated on and off for quite a while, but I've never done it in a group, and it's really different in a group. It's nice, but I'm also sort of getting to talk to people that are on a similar wavelength about meditation and life and trying to find meaning in life, and so that's been really helpful. And I don't really know what else I can do, but I can do the things I control, and then the rest is out of my hands. I'm not saying that feels great all the time. I have my moments where I might see something online about someone who has passed away from ocular melanoma, METs, or I don't know, another type of cancer, and I get a rush of fear. But that's not as much as it used to be, and it settles a lot more quickly than it used to. So the plan over the next few months is just get on with life, I guess. And my next follow-up with Moorfields will be around November time. I'm hoping that at that point there might be a bit more information about the tumour, or the melanoma rather. They said there'd been no change with it, which is great. Although when I got the letter from them, and I know it's not much of a difference, but the elevation of the melanoma was 1.1 millimetres, and at the first follow-up, it was 0.8 millimetres. I know that's probably a really tiny difference, but it means it's flattened a little bit, and I thought I'll take that as a positive. So I hope that continues, but I'll find out in November. My husband and I have booked to go away again in September, which is something else to look forward to. I find that I need to have time off roughly every 3 months from work, because it can be a challenging role. I can't remember if I've mentioned I work in mental health, so it can be challenging. So I think having time off every 3 or so months, it's good for me. So that's all the updates for now. So it's now 8 months nearly since my radiotherapy. I can't believe in a few months' time it's going to be a year since my diagnosis. I feel quite tearful thinking about that. Time goes quickly, doesn't it? It feels time has gone quickly, and yet it's no time at all to be adjusting to all this. I still feel that I'm learning to adjust, and some days are better than others. I think some days I push myself too hard because I'm a bit in denial. You know, I like my reading, and so even when my eye's been a bit sore, I've wanted to read because I like sitting down with a book. So I'm still struggling with the acceptance and the need to pace. But I'm getting better at that, and I think that's one of the things that I'm struggling with the most, is this acceptance of how things have changed and how I'm having to adapt to reduce the level of discomfort that I feel if I use this eye too much. I mean, it's not like you can just turn the eye off, is it? I hope these updates are useful. If you've got any questions about any of this, please let me know in the comments and I'll answer them as best as I can. I'll be back with further updates as and when they come in. All right, take care. See you soon.